Good morning, wherever you're listening to. Welcome to the Global Business Talk Show. We are always delighted to be with you on a Monday or any day that you're able to listen to this broadcast. Thanks to seasonal retail cycle, products tend to go on sale at the same time each year. We are in September. September is known for blowout deals on mattresses, appliances, and outdoor furnitures. We are in the middle of Labor Day, so everybody's looking for this Labor Day special. We hope that this year, despite the seasonal trend, September shopping won't be the same as the other years. Why? Because we have an increase in labor costs, inflation, supply chain pressure, and the pandemic is having a huge impact on how people are buying and how they feel after they purchase something. Today, we're going to talk about buying remorse. As humans, we continually make decisions, large, small, and afterward, since they have consequences, sometimes our decision leads to do not lead to desirable outcome, and we totally wish that we had made different choices. And when we have this feeling, or when we feel uh, that kind of guilt, we call it the buyer's remorse. Today, I have the pleasure to have with us Mr. Max Scotty, who's going to talk to us about buyer's remorse. Why? He's a salesperson. And when it comes to selling, there's the marketing aspect, there's also the emotional and psychological aspect of the purchase and the after purchase. Good evening, good morning. Welcome, Max, and thank you for joining us on the Global Business Talk Show. You're looking hot,
Oh,
hot orange.
you see what?
Oh, it is because you're a chick
Yeah,
magnet.
yeah, I'm a chip magnet today. Well, I am so glad, CJ, that the fact that you gave me an opportunity to be here again once with our listeners and those who are actually watching us online. It is a privilege to actually be with all of you guys and sharing things that really may matter to business owners and some of our chamber members that's probably watching and taking a peek at that. So I'm glad to be here.
Word, the word buyer's remorse is not new to our vocabulary. Now, do you feel remorse, or would you be feeling remorse talking about this?
No, typically I wouldn't because it's something that as a business owner you will actually come across that. Now there are times or there are groups or individuals and cultures who have different ways of dealing with that. Some will voice their opinion, especially for us being in America. We tend to want to, if we're more Americanized, will voice that opinion. Some people, what they do, they just shut and they don't do business with you anymore, not understanding that they had buyer's remorse. And there are ways that you can actually, as a business owner, to really remove that by being more proactive because people tend to make decision based upon emotion.
Hold on, Max. I've heard parents, and I know you're a parent, tell their children it's important to make good decision, and they emphasize over making a good decision since those kids are able to deal with money. How is buyer's remorse tied into making a decision? Because you were saying that some of the chamber members, people would buy things and then they'll feel bad about it.
Definitely. Well, one of the main thing when you're dealing with buyer's remorse is something that really has to do with what we call a cognitive dissonance.
Hmm.
A lot of times people have an idea of what they think that they're going to get and what that thing will actually do for them. And when it hits them, they're like, whoa, why did I actually do that? And that's why there are things that really talks about, like for instance, people who are in the state of Florida, when you're dealing with cars, um, they give you up to 3 days. So what a lot of the companies have done, they set up a system to communicate with you within the first 72 hours to make sure that you're satisfied, just to reduce the possibility of really having buyer's remorse, because it's typically, especially if they know they got you on something, they know you would actually go back and really ask information about, why am I paying 30 grand for something that was advertised at 19?
Mm. And thus, we need to be able to do our due diligence and do the research to make sure that you're buying. And I would say, I don't want to pride myself saying that, but I try to be a good decision maker or a competent one. To me, if you do the research first, you find out this is what I need and probably not what I want. This is why I need it, and this is how it's going to help. I think that would fall into you finding out that it's a $19,000 product instead of a 30,000 project purchase, because you're already aware of what it entails, what it's gonna do, and what it's going for on the market.
Yes, and typically, as you know, people now, because of the internet, there's some information that can be found a lot quicker
Mhm.
about pricing, and I'm happy we're talking about pricing. There's a word that I was mentioning to you about commoditization.
Mhm.
What's been happening lately is that you would have companies, so many companies are selling the same thing. Well, you would have a lot of times, let's take an example, the big boy that actually sells everything online. I'm not gonna give them a free advertising, but what happens is that they strip away the value by giving it to you so cheap that it becomes that even you, if you are selling that product, if you don't tie the product around some kind of system or program, you're gonna be doing competition. And one of the people that I'm coaching, and I was mentioning to them that that their husband is doing the competition to going all the way to the bottom. So when they're doing price competition, everybody's trying to see how much cheaper they can sell. So she was saying that my husband buy this products at $89 and he's selling it for 90. It's like, I don't know why he's doing that. And the reason why he's doing that is because he also gets in the back end a rebate of 20 to 25%. So he figures, if I can give you the price as cheap as possible, most people will come to me. But what he doesn't understand is that he's going to do the shipping, which is doing the delivery. It costs gas, it costs this, it will cost his health. And it's that competition to the bottom is never the way to go, unless you have a lot of employees or different people that's doing it for you, because you just not, the math doesn't add up.
Even though we take in consideration the rebate, because I'm thinking maybe in his mind he's thinking that he's going for volumes, because as you're talking about this and I'm thinking about menu pricing, so I'm able to buy a deodorant online for $6, but that same deodorant, he's being sold on that same platform for $8. And here's the difference: when I buy it for $6, they tell me that I have to wait 5 days to receive it. When I buy it for $8, it's available right away. Is there a
Yeah,
trick to that?
they'll have a drone even drop it for you, if anything.
I love that. They have a drone drop it for me.
Exactly. Well, this has caused over literally hundreds of books being written about it,
Mhm.
and a lot of major companies have shut down. So, if we want to go back to what the word buyer's remorse mean, is really a sense of regret.
Mhm.
Having to made a purchase, and usually frequently associate with something that's expensive, such as a vehicle or real estate. Things like that really happen because a lot of times when you're looking at finance charges or whatever, I mean, the salesperson wants to make money, and especially vehicle is so big on vehicle. Let me give you an example. I went to purchase a vehicle, and my bank already financed me for the vehicle. They're like, "Oh no, we're not accepting bank draft." I'm like, "What you mean? I got the money. It's coming from my bank that you do business with when you need to get loan. How come the check they cutting me out to do it, you're not accepting it?" You get it? So when they know they're pulling a fast one on you, and they think that you're a rookie, then they'll do that type of stuff until you go and speak to a friend of yours within that 72 hour period. You'll be like, they did something to me. So unless you know what really you're there for, you won't really know how to handle situation like that.
When you spoke about the 72 hours, and I think it's really offering a ray of hope. And thank God that we able to have laws set up by the Consumers Affairs Bureau that helps you with this. So what you're saying is the common buyers remorse purchases, they feel them when they don't understand, for example, the financial commitment fully,
Hmm.
when they don't have probably disposable income, because like for your example, when you already have the money there for the car, so why wouldn't they buy it if they're already doing business with this company? Making big decision on a whim. Tell us about that. Is it because we use the same emotion when we're trying to get somebody to buy something from us?
Well, one of the things that's important, understand the psychology behind it. You
Mhm.
see, the ways of advertising, it's not like the person one day woke up, said that I am going to purchase. Imagine the billboards, all the different ways that they've been advertised to.
The
That
ads.
little thing that went down at at the bottom, the little tagline at the bottom of your computer. When you were online on Facebook, you saw the little flashes. So you being hit with that, and then the first thing that happened when your car end up breaking down or having a problem, say, you know what? It's time to change. I'm gonna do it. So the decision is never just in one day. It's very rarely in one day. It's something
Mhm.
that's been already working. You've been dealing with this already, and then you're saying, you know what? I've been thinking about this too long. I'm not gonna wait any longer, and I'm gonna make that purchase. And that's the wrong way to use it, because
Mhm.
the minute you're putting emotion into it, you're bound to actually have a mistake occur because you're not understanding what the other party, what they're doing to actually maximize on you actually coming to them, because they've been advertising to get you from the get-go for a while, and the time you come, that's when they know they have the best possible time to really actually maximize their profit.
I'm glad that you took the example of a car. So basically, if you were planning on making a good decision or for buying a car, you know that you've had the car for 7 or 8 years. You were planning on buying a car. Now it's less likely that when the car breaks down, that you go to the uh, dealership, and it's so funny that the dealership not only sells the car but also repairs it. So when you bring that car for repair, it's not as it just so happened that the person says, well, you know what, we are having a big discount, or we're having a big sale right now. Instead of just driving this car and paying so much money, why don't you just get a brand new one? So decision, like you said, the decision is not yours. You are programmed, and your environment is pushing it towards buying.
Exactly. Well, another thing that's very important, and what that's why we use cars, because people have a certain relationship, car, an emotional relationship. Um, Imagine you're going to buy a car and you don't even want to test drive it because you already have an idea what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And then until you start driving, that's why they kind of like want you to drive it, because they want you to develop that emotional attachment to it. So,
So you feel like it belongs to you already without you
yeah,
signing up the papers.
so for me, I remember when I was buying the car, I said, "No, I don't need to test drive it. I already know what it rides like." And that's what you say doing your due diligence. You gotta know already what is it the reason you're going to get it. Other than that, and that's why most humans, okay, I say most because I don't want to say that human beings continually make decision, large or small. Afterwards, they there are always consequences. And all it is because they're really wondering, did I make the right decision? Is it worth it, all that? Because when you start peeling back and you seeing what was what was so hot about this. Now, here's a funny thing. People talk about buyer's remorse as being for things only,
Mhm.
like furnitures and blah blah blah. It even goes into relationship. You know I was gonna go into that part.
No, no, I thought we were going to take it step by step from the big
Okay, okay.
purchases
Let's take
like
it slow
the
then.
like the like the car and the house to the not to the
The wife or
investment.
the husband.
No, to the investment, which is a college degree. We're gonna talk about how somebody
Oh,
who went to college, and
wow.
then I was going to wait for the last minute to drop the big Hiroshima bomb, and says, "Well, what about the wife? Can we return it?" So let's
Let
go
me
from
tell you
let's go from the car that we actually have 3 days that you actually can return if you say that the features are not working, or that you might see has a fit for a lemon, to the wife that we cannot return.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, you never know. Return to sender always work.
Let
Uh,
me let's talk about the wife that we cannot return. Mhm.
well, I'm not gonna jump on the wife part as well right now. Uh, one thing I just have to say is that I realize being in America, okay, and I know there may be other big countries who have these type of laws. It's just because I've been here for more time than any other place. I see this as something that's very prevalent,
Mhm.
where you will notice that emotionally speaking, the decision is made at that moment because you have a perception, an idea, or there was some kind of illustration in the sales presentation that gave you a whole image of what you would be getting.
Mhm.
And then until the person settles in and saying that, you know what, this is not what I actually signed up for. I'll take an example of my business in natural health. The person wants to get rid of their disease. I'm very motivated, everything, but when they're seeing they're having to take 13 items, plus eat a certain way, plus not eat the things that got them sick to begin with,
It's a
which
commitment.
they're very attached to,
Mhm.
and having to drink water and sensible workout, they're like, I didn't sign up for all that. So Shakespeare always says, to thy own self be true. The more true you know you are about yourself, the less likely you will fall into a situation of having to deal with buyer's remorse. And there are different steps that a person can follow to really avoid that altogether.
So even in natural health situation, I'm sitting here thinking, well, let's say I'm here and I have a big diagnosis, and I reach out to a natural uh, practitioner. They're giving me a plan, they give me a protocol, and this is how much I need to pay. I don't see how, after I made my first payment or I made the whole payment, that I could go back or have a cooling off period to say, well, you know what? I don't think I really need the doctor. Because think about it, the disease that you have or the diagnosis that you just received, it's not something that happened overnight. So
Exactly.
to me, and that's why I would always encourage the parents to help their children to make the good decision and stick to it, because even before they reach out and connect with you, they should have thought about their options, and they tell you that you need to think about the cooling off period. We could talk about credit card protection, since we are on Pro Max Pay, and
Yeah.
that you have ways to help people get the self funding. But what about self compassion? Due to the fact that you need to do the research, you need to sleep on the decision before making it, you know, and you need to have a conscious spending plan. I'm sick. If they were to send me to Germany to have a big operation that would cost 50 grand, I mean, would you be having a buyer's remorse after you've flown 10,000 miles and the doctor is about to cut you open?
You know, it's so funny you're saying that. I would say buyer's remorse, I can get a case like that once every 3 to 4, 5 years.
Okay.
And why I love that is because there's something that we typically do. Very rarely that a person comes in saying, "Hey, I'm about to die. I need something real quick," that I give them the thing or the protocol right away. If you're about to die, go to the hospital. If you're that much in of an emergency, and I'm not being facetious or even mean,
Hmm.
it's just because I know that when they're in the trenches, you could give them a bottle of urine, they will take it. So
And
what we
and
want,
and and more so, even if you were to charge them $1,000 for that urine, and
yeah,
which might not be human.
and that's exactly what I'm saying. So what we've done, because we're aware of that 3 day wait a few days. So I
Hmm.
usually like to deliver the products within 7 to 10 business days.
Hmm.
It gave them more than enough time to say that big money that I just spent, is it worth it? Is
Hmm.
it this? Is it that? And then so that if indeed within that period of time, if I didn't receive the product yet, I'll be nice enough to say, "Hey, I'm glad you told me that before you even took it," because it would be really weird. You done start taking the stuff and all that, and then for you to say, "Hey, I don't want it anymore," because then there'll be a problem because the companies I'm dealing with, they don't take stuff that
Okay.
went out.
So we be clear, and I think that's a good reason why certain shops will not take the deposit; they take the whole amount. So if a
Yes,
person already spent the money and they took it, once that bottle, once that bag is open, it's theirs. They
is there?
cannot return it because I mean I don't want to be funny, but it's probably immersed. There's not another person who has the same disease waiting for the rest of that person's medication.
Now, well, also with the time that we're in right now, you don't know how they stored it. So really, you paid it, you bought it, even
It's
on those
yours.
because you don't even know what condition, if they left it in the sun, if they're in their cars. So it would be really unfair to be selling the next person something that you don't have a true knowledge of how it was kept.
That's right, and
So
that's a very important thing that you mentioned here.
a lot of times companies really think that everybody can do like Walmart. And I'm saying though, I gotta say that name, not that I'm advertising for them. What most people don't understand, the system that Walmart uses is that I myself, I want to put this in Walmart. What they do is that they didn't buy it from me. They gave me an opportunity to put it on their shelf. So it's
Hmm.
actually costing me like a leasing.
Yes.
It's costing me something to have it there. Me, the distributor. So I have, if I want it to be at a certain level, that I already know what my percentage will be. So in reality, Walmart doesn't have to create anything. They can have their
Hmm.
own brand if they want. It doesn't matter. It's just that item itself that's in there. When you bring it back, they make sure they have a deal with all these companies say that, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to carry your stuff, but if it's defective or anything, we don't mind. Understand this, I'm not going to pay for it."
That's right.
They pass on the cost or the debt or the even the loss all the way
On.
to the distributor.
That's right. That's right.
So we think that they're being great. We can bring in anything at Walmart back. We're not Walmart. It doesn't work like that.
And especially that those people probably have lawyers, whereas if they have, let's say, they allow somebody or a company to put 1,000 items on their shelves, and then 600 of those items were returned, so they're not gonna take the fault for that. They're not gonna take the bill. So the distributor or the distributing company is the one who's gonna have to take care of that. So this is why it's important for us to have disclaimers up front.
Yes.
And oftentimes, since we have to go back to the cells, it's always that little fine line that you don't read, or that you don't have your lawyers or your legal service review. That's where you get caught, because they say, well, if you buy a car, you could either return it, you could exchange it, or you could get credit for it. You might never have your money back,
Yes.
even
Yes.
in the options of returning it, because there is what they call a stocking fee.
Yeah. Restocking fee. Oh boy,
Restocking fee.
I remember when I used to buy phones. And when the company would say, "Oh, for us to get it back, there's going to be a restocking fee," and I'm like, "This is so cool." I put restocking fee for anybody that want to be funny with me. I got all sorts of fee: restocking fee, my time fee, everything fee, the headache fee. I have fee for everything, so they call me fee.
Oh, so that's there goes your new name. Max is a Fifi.
Yeah.
Now let's move on a little towards a degree, for example. There's no denying that there is a certain benefit of getting a degree. People feel like it might give them access to a great job, higher salary band, and even opportunity for them to grow, especially if they're getting that degree from a large college. Now, while jobless graduate might feel like it's just they just threw money just down the drain, I still feel like it's worth knowing that graduate account for about 4% of the unemployment market. Can you believe this? So those with the high school degrees will account for 7.8%. But we gotta face it. After spending $20,000 to $58,000 per year for a degree, and I said per year, not for the whole 4 year education, sometimes it seems very unfair that all those graduates would not have a job. So in that case, what would you tell a college graduate? Should you tell the parents make sure that your kids are smart enough to be able to earn good money after they graduate from college, or that they could go and have their own businesses?
But you know, the funny part is that always remember the entrepreneurial spirit is really whoever that succeeds in it. It's usually part of that 1%.
Okay.
Anybody else after that, they're geared to work for somebody, work for a company, this, and there's nothing wrong with that. It takes a different mindset for a person to actually want to be an entrepreneur. Uh,
Hold on, Max. When you say that 1%, you're talking about that 1% who's disciplined, that 1% that gets up in the morning, that 1% that keeps going no matter what the challenges are, COVID, hurricane, earthquake.
the person that's so resilient that nothing is gonna stop them, and usually those that 1%, um, when research shows that they may have started 16 other projects that never came about until the
Oh.
17th took off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And what it is, they have that resilience. They believe that everything that another person will see as failure, they see it as a learning lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. So when we're talking about people going to college and having to learn a trade, if you look at for the past 25 years, what high schools have done now, they've given kids who are already in high school and sometimes even younger the opportunity to go see what it's like to be a nurse or see what it's like to be a doctor. Start taking some of those classes, start being in the field, experiencing it so that you can visualize, is that really what I want? I have friends of mine, when they went and saw the way the hospital worked, they said, I, under no circumstances, I'll become a nurse. And they said we rather do the administrative side. And some people have been able to do that because they did their due diligence. When you're
Okay.
dealing with degrees, here's what happens. People hear that if I get a college degree, notice they didn't even talk about if they've done the research on careers.com or salary.com to see where it is for their location.
Mm-hmm.
And they've never developed the relationship. They figure that as long as I have the degree, I am entitled. And that's the word that comes in. I'm
Ah.
entitled for this and that. What
Mm-hmm.
they don't realize is that the degree doesn't make you entitled. It actually gives you the qualification. It gives you that little entry level to be able to be considered, but it doesn't guarantee you what you think you're going to get. And that's why a lot of times people jump. I mean, I met a guy recently. He actually has seven different, listen to this, seven different degrees. And
Mm.
even in and licenses, professional licenses. And what it is that every time he does one, he gets a pushback. He jumps on another. He jumps on another. When I ask him, and when I do the live blood testing, I said, "Do you have you ever realized that you're suffering from regret and resentment?" Because a lot of times, all the disease that these people have is because of understand this unresolved mental argument from regrets.
You said regret and resentments.
Yes, regrets and resentments. A lot of
Wow.
people don't understand that they work hand in hand, but they're not the same thing.
So regret and resentment could literally get you sick.
Oh yeah, it's a
Okay.
poison. It's a poison.
Okay. Okay.
You're basically poisoning yourself. So imagine, the study shows that Mondays are the day that there's only one species on Earth who can cause itself or him or herself to have a heart attack, and that's a human being. The people resent their jobs so much that they have so much stress before they even make it to the job, usually on the train, in the car, whatever it is, they'll find them before that 9 o'clock heart attack because they know what it's like to go deal with that boss or the job that they're having to do, the things that they're having to do. All the stuff is bottled up. That's why we have a bigger outcry for mental health right now.
Hmm.
Mental health was really not being looked at until now because people do experience buyer's remorse a lot because they have an idea of what it was. Let's go back to the car again. You hear on TV and or even those television, they show you, well, once you have that diploma and you see the person walk across and then they automatically show you that they're working in a hospital or as a
And the
manager.
bad car.
No, they're basically giving you a movie. That's why when they created the presentation, they give you enough for your mind to do the rest of the work for them because they're saying that, hey, if you have this, you'll have that. Until the person realized that, man, the main problem is that these individuals don't really know how to even market themselves. They didn't do that extra work that when they were in college, prior to going to college, that they were already sowing time, to build up the relationships, to get them there. That's why people tell you there's two things that will get you there is who knows you and who you know.
Who knows you and who you know? Oh my God. And it's not even funny that September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And as you were saying, you were talking about Mondays and how people are so unhappy and then they could just go and kill themselves. Wow.
Well, I'll go the political side. Anytime we talk, we gotta jump politically.
Yeah. You pull me in that dirty scene of of
I
politics.
I gotta do that because and the way I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna start with the Caribbean. You remember back then in the Caribbean when the person voted, they put their thumb in, right? I remember I had a cousin. He voted for a guy that he really thought it was going to be the savior of the country. When he saw what that guy turned out to be a pest to our own family member, we had to stop him from not cutting off his thumb. That's how bad this thing was.
Because he regretted it giving him that thumbs
He
up.
had that regret and that resentment. And quite frankly, I'll say this that very same person, to a point where it created issues that had him be executed that way. So basically,
Wow.
he's no more just because he was really making a big outcry of that. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's
Oh,
crazy. If
Max.
it doesn't kill you internally, it's going to kill you one way or another.
Well, since you're pulling me into the politics, I'm pulling you into the social. So, the wives and the kids, are they returning them?
Well, you see, I know people that do that, and they think that they can run away it or outrun it. So the government has certain system to keep them. But at the end of the day, to what extent? The person can decide that they don't want no part of that kid or that
Of the,
ex-wife,
yep.
or and that's why they attach the whole. financial obligation and all that stuff. But when the person decides that they don't want to know anything about you, they don't know want to know anything about you. As long as you get your check, they don't even need to know whether you're breathing or living.
Yeah. Wow. A bigger project, a business. I realize that oftentimes people start a business, they buy a business, and then a couple of months, hopefully a couple of years later, they're like, oh, I didn't think it was so hard. Like somebody will say, well, I want to own a restaurant. I want to own a restaurant. I have a friend of mine, every time we have a meeting, he's always like, I want to own a restaurant. And I look at him, I said, well, dude, don't you know that owning a restaurant requires a lot? I mean, that you do a lot of work. I mean, who's going to cook? Is it your wife or your wife's mom that's going to cook? What if they decide to leave you? They could also return the husband, and they don't see it as a big investment. So whether you're buying the car, whether you're buying the home, whether you're investing in the college, you're getting a degree, or whether you're opening a business, it is an investment that you need to take seriously, so you could avoid that buyer's remorse. So in the case of a business, sometimes I see people, and I think you and I, we will see this the same way. I see people jumping from one business to another instead of being smart about tying up those business together. And now, when I say tying up, I really would love to see it from a point of expanding. We have the Health Max Ed that focuses on your health. Now, when Health Max Ed decided to give people credit, it's still under Pro Max Pay, because those people who are coming, whom you do not want to have remorse for buying something that they probably cannot afford, something that is going to put them in a hole and leave them financially in a black hole, they could extend their credit. So now it's an extension of what you already have. So what are we going to tell the folks who start a business and decide, like, you know what, this is too hard, and they want to just shut it down and start over? Wrong decision.
Well, I'm not gonna even say for them wrong decisions. Since I'm in the business of buying businesses, I need to have people like that. I'll tell you why. If you would have everybody stick to it, then when would be other opportunities? There
True.
are people who are looking for people who, like himself, who already did all the grunt work, got all the equipment, and
Mm-hmm.
is dying for somebody to pick up the stuff for them, from them. They just want to get out. I have recently a friend of mine. He owns a clinic for the past 20 years. Now he did it in partnership, and for a reason or another, the partnership got sour. This guy is dying to have somebody buy his share so that he could get out. So what it
Mm-hmm.
is that it's not like it's a wrong thing or the right thing to do. They have to always know for themselves, what do I want? If they don't understand what they want, what's going to happen is that there's always going to be the sense of buyer's remorse, because people make their decision upon some information who are not necessarily factual. It's
Mm-hmm.
mostly usually something that's fictitious or something they created for themselves. Oh, they said it will do this. They said this item has this and that characteristics, until they find out this is not the case.
So
So
they did not investigate prior. So
no,
therefore, the buyer's remorse can create opportunities for other people, mergers, people who are doing acquisitions. So
yeah,
your buyer's remorse, the same as they say, your trash could be somebody else's treasure. So
yeah,
your buyer's remorse could be an opportunity for somebody else.
exactly. And remember, I always talk about the 4 Ds, right?
Yep.
Disease, disaster, divorce, and of course death. These are the things that always bring about opportunity for real estate,
Let
opportunity for so much.
let's go back to the 4 Ds:
Yes.
diseases,
Uh-huh.
death,
Yes.
divorce.
Yes.
Oh, I'm a bad
Dis-
student. I'm missing one.
Disaster.
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 So basically, what you're saying is, when those things happen, they could create the buyer's remorse. Because I remember back in 2019 when COVID hit, and I used to say to myself, "What if I had just purchased that car?" Somebody who just purchased a car, loses their job or somebody from their family has COVID, that person's gonna have to not only feel the buyer's remorse but liquidate that asset in order for them to move forward.
Yes, yes. Well, here's the thing. You see, that's why, let's say in the state of Florida, they give you that 3 day thing. It's really because it's a major purchase, a
Mm-hmm.
home major purchase. But there's like you bought that gold chain, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like, for instance, okay, let's go in entertainment industry, because I know some who are from our culture, some who are not from our culture.
Mm-hmm.
What I found out is that those folks have been able to tuck in the 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 sticker a certain way. Some people are even so smart, they know how to even remove the sticker and put it right back in
Mm-hmm.
after they purchase. So they would buy something on credit, go to the photo shoot or the Grammy or the fake Grammy, whatever the case is, and then they go back the next day and they bring it back. They're like, oh no, it's not what I wanted. If people knew how many times people do that, you would be so surprised. Oh, I thought it fit me that way. I thought it was this and that. Now, you see, I don't badmouth people who are like that, but usually these are people who do not know what they want, or they have an experience. I remember a friend of mine was telling me to do that. I said, no way. You are not gonna get me to do anything like that. I said,
But can we look at it as them trying to avoid the buyer's regret? Because remember earlier when we started, we spoke about knowing what you want and knowing what you need. So they wanted it, but they didn't need it because they only wanted to have it for 1 day. But now they need to understand with social media and that picture that is taking, they can
yeah,
be still stuck because the lawyers are still working on on
well,
the
yeah,
scams.
because they understand. Because here's the best way for you to know how to really deal with scam is basically hire the scammer and they'll start talking. You'll always find people start talking and give the game away.
Oh
Uh,
my god.
there's the game away. We did speak about that when we talked about the whole political part, and as you
Hmm.
know, I'm probably gonna finalize all this on that part. Imagine right now, a lot of people are having scare for the jab.
Hmm.
A lot of people, I've run across people who said they regretted that they voted the way they voted.
Hmm.
They regret they didn't vote the other way around. And they feel like the other person would not have mandated that. It would have
Hmm.
made it a choice, no matter what it is, no matter what recommendation that would be done. So that's why when people understand that, in less than 4 years, whoever that didn't win is coming back, is because they knew what the mentality would be. So
Hmm.
imagine somebody tells you they could stand on Fifth Avenue, shoot somebody, and they won't lose support. That shows you to the level that that it gets when we dealing with psychology. So for me to really, and I had to really bring that in, is because people right now are feeling it, even at the level of political.
Hmm.
People who thought that, oh, if I had voted this way, this is what was going to come in. So there are very much 7 strategies that a person can utilize to actually avoid buyer's remorse. And I'm going to share it
Hmm.
real quick
Please.
as
Hmm.
we're wrapping up. One of it, you want to equate the price to your work hours. And that's what I do. So when I see an item and I see X amount, I divide it by the number of hours that I work and what I make. And I say, oh, okay. So that's what I usually do to my kids. I tell them, ask yourself if it could wait 30 days later. They're like, oh, daddy, you're a certain way. I'm like, no, it's because I know that feeling. Avoid shopping apps. Log off of online shopping accounts. Don't save your credit card information online. Wait 72 hours. If you have that urge, because I used to work in malls, I was responsible for the lights who shine at an angle and that made you buy the shirt that you bought. And anytime the sales were off, when the manager, Ed would say, Max, the lights. And he was right. The minute the lights are on, it was a special light, he told me. Once he hits it at the angle that they put it, the clothes will be bought. And that's what happened. They play a lot to our mindset. the music that is played. Have you ever been at Publix and they have always the best music of Michael Jackson? You'll be walking in the aisle and
Something,
you see doing all the
something that's
dance,
yeah, something that's hot and gets you moving and gets you spending.
and you hear buy, BY, BUY, and bye and whatever. Whenever you hear that, you're buying something and you're buying more than what you have budgeted for. You got to be strict for you not to do that. And as I said, budget your purchase and try to reward based spending. So if you really follow those 7 different strategies, it will really lessen the possibility for you to have buyer's remorse on your purchases.
Well, Max, thank you so very much for being with us here on the Global Business Talk Show. I'm gonna recap for those of you listening to us. You are not always going to get it right, but the 7 steps that Max just mentioned will, but you need to make sure that you get the odds a little more on your camp if you follow those simple steps. Equate the purchase with your working hours. Avoid shopping apps because they just pop up. They're not even wanted. They just pop up on your phone all the time. Do not save your credit card information online, and that is very important. The reason why is because you know that this show is being brought to you by Pro Max Pay. You could find Max at 954 934 7921 954 934 7921. Why is he telling you not to save your credit card online? Because maybe once you start that purchase and it's asking you for your CVA or for your zip code because it's not all autofilled, you'll be thinking, well, do I really need that? Can I wait 30 days, as he says? It's very important for you to budget your purchase because yes, you might be able to return the car after a certain amount, after several days. Yes, you might learn something different from what you have learned after you have probably a huge student loan, and maybe some of you do not have the student loan. Yes, you could you could expand your business and incorporate more programs or services within it. No, we don't recommend that you return the kid and the wife. And no, you will not be able to return the house. And we do not want somebody to just pick up your business for how much did you say you buying the business, Max? $1?
Yeah, I'm telling you, people don't understand. It's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
If you're not doing what is necessary to keep the business alive, it'll be worthless. You could pick it up for $1.
Yeah. Max will pick it up for $1. We wish you a happy Labor Day. We hope that you could always reap the fruit of your labors. Until then, we'll see you again on the Global Business Talk Show. And we encourage you to follow us on Impact TV as we bring those contents to our listeners, to our audience throughout the world. Thank you, Max.